Artificial intelligence has been in our imaginations even before computers could do anything more than some math, and it took a whole room to do it back then. Today, when AI can perceive patterns too complex for our brains, its insights can show us the future before it actually happens. A niche, a new popular technology, a new way of communication, a consuming habit from an upcoming generation. It's pretty much a superpower. Artificial intelligence in marketing and management. This is going to be our center of focus today. Welcome yet again to this knowledge series where AsiaNet News and Amrita School of Business under Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham brings on board experts and the who's who, as you know by now, from the academia and the industry to talk about matters pertinent to your growth. Like I always say, I'm the moderator of the series. My name is Shikha Singh. Warm good evening, warm welcome to you. Dear audience, AI is a business management tool today, as you all know, right? It works for financial and product related decisions, especially when deciding about more volatile variables such as, you know what I'm talking about, the customer expectations, which is the ever dynamic, relentlessly changing, right? On the other hand, what does it really have to do with marketing? The answer is just one word to simplify it: data. Big data, you know, is a term that's related to vast amounts of information that no human can fully absorb and really analyze. So think about all the numbers, indicators, and the profile that a marketing campaign gathers from its prospects' engagement. AI is a technology that balances both personalization and automation. Well, I'm happy to be introducing to you all our first guest of the evening, the one who is very accomplished, as you can see on the screen, Dr. A.V. Shyam, Principal, Amrita School of Business, Coimbatore. Dr. Shyam, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Ms. Shikha. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Good to be seeing you, Dr. Shyam. You know, there's a little rule of our series, which is that, and the legacy says that our previous experts have nailed it. So there's a little thing known as the rapid fire round. Are you ready to nail the question that I'm going to ask you in this round?
Let's try.
All right, Dr. Shyam is like, okay, Shikha is giving me no options. So, okay, let's try that out. Here comes your question, and the rule is very simple. You get no thinking time. Okay, tell us, had you not been an academician, what would have been?
An engineer.
All right. Okay, that's interesting to know. But definitely, again, something on the lines of being a hard worker there and hustling with the knowledge. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, with that, we would now be inviting our next guest, who is illustrious and very humble. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please welcome, of course, a very smiling Dr. Kishore Gopalakrishna Pillai, the Dean of Amrita School of Business, Bengaluru and Coimbatore. Warm welcome, Dr. Pillai. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you, Shikha, for the very generous words. Yes, I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Pillai. And if you were backstage, you already know about a little fun question that we will ask you. But before that, thank you for greeting us warmly with such a nice smile. Thank you. Okay, so my question to you is, and before that, I have to ask you, all guns blazing, if you're ready.
Yeah, certainly. Yes, it's good.
All right. Tell us, if a book was to be written on you, what would it be called?
Well, Ambition's Curse.
Wow, could you come again?
I've actually written a book like that. I have a book like that. I've written a novel of the name, so that's
all right, okay. So could you think of any apt title for it as well?
This is the title of the novel that I wrote, Ambition's Curse. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so we'll take that. Okay. Quite a sport. Thank you for joining. All right. So yes, while I was trying to lend my ears to hear the title and got it correct, hopefully, our final guest of the evening is someone who loves to help people get jobs by referring them and preparing them for interviews. Well, it doesn't just stop here, but for now, I got to tell all of you that if you think he can help you too, please feel free to reach out to him. And I've taken this liberty to say that. Let's welcome and warmly welcome Mr. Aquibur Rahman, CEO, Mailmodo.
Hey,
Akib,
thank you.
hi.
Hi.
Good to be seeing you virtually.
Yeah, same here. Good to be part of this discussion.
Absolutely. And I think, of course, as I read about you, very beautiful things to learn about you. And you won't be spared as well. There's a question that's coming right away. Can I go ahead?
Sure.
All right. Tell us, what are the top 3 things, no thinking time, in your bucket list for 2022?
So number one is like most of the things are overlapping with what I have to do with Mailmodo, my company. So number one thing is that we want to raise Series A in this year. Second thing is I want to travel abroad this year somewhere, take a break from day-to-day startup hustle. And third would be grow the company further.
All right. As you were beginning to speak about your work related goals in the bucket list, I was like, it has to be all about it. But I'm glad you also put recreation as one of it as well.
Yeah.
So all the very best. I hope you achieve it all and more. Actually, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
All right. So that was like warming up with the esteemed guests for the evening. Here's urging all you folks. I'm sure you're focusing. And before getting started, I'm going to ask all of you to make sure you cast your questions via the comment box that you see on your screens. If you have any queries, as you hear our experts, our creme de la creme, talk to you all. We do have a dedicated Q&A interaction towards the end of the webinar so that we all are in a good place for understanding the entire concept and the theme that we're going to talk about. And let's get started now, formally, from the field of ideas to a more practical conversation. I would be happy to talk about our first guest, Dr. A.V. Shyam. If I talk about him, qualified as a BTech Mechanical, PGDM, fellow IIM Kozhikode. His research areas have been business analytics, cognitive business intelligence, issues in technology and the human interface, so as to say, 20 years of industry and academic experience. Dr. Shyam recently, I'm so happy to tell this to all of you, he recently won the Emerald Literati Award for highly commended paper. He's going to talk about AI, different types of AI, and also some latest statistics and the trends as well. Dr. Shyam, if you're all set, handing it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Shikha, for the introduction. So let me get started. I'll start with a few quotations on artificial intelligence by some eminent personalities. So here they go. So Ginni Rometty, former chairman, president, and CEO of IBM, said, this technology will enhance us. So instead of artificial intelligence, she was thinking that it will augment our intelligence with such technologies. Larry Page says, AI will be the ultimate version of Google. It would understand exactly what you want and would give you that. Elon Musk has a slightly different take. He says, if AI has a goal and humanity just happens to come in the way, it will destroy humanity as a matter of course, even without thinking about it. The famous theoretical physicist, Dr. Stephen Hawking, said AI could be the biggest event or the worst in our civilization. We just don't know yet. So we cannot know if it will be definitely helped by AI or ignored by it, sidelined, or conceivably destroyed by it. However, one thing we know in the current situation, managers are called upon to make important decisions about if, where, and how they should be adopting AI. Why do we say that? Let's look at the revenues and market size. Worldwide revenues for AI, including software, hardware, services, etc., grew at about 15.2% in 2021 to $341.8 billion. then it is forecasted to grow at 18.8% this year and breach the $500 billion mark by 2024. Among the three technology categories, 88% currently of the overall AI market is AI software. But in terms of growth, AI hardware is estimated to grow fastest. And from the next year onwards, AI services too. Now, let's have a brief look at what is intelligence. There are several ways in which intelligence has been conceptualized, but there are certain common themes. For example, ability to perceive the environment, process data, transform into information, adapt to the environment, okay, and using this knowledge towards goal-directed behavior. So if we were to adapt intelligence into a system, it would require a selective combination of a number of processes, including perceiving the environment, problem solving, reasoning, learning, memory, and acting to achieve the goals. Similarly, experts have defined AI in multiple ways. If you go through the definitions of the screen, you would find that many of the themes that we talked about human intelligence also get reflected in these definitions. Now, synthesizing the ways in which in the literature human intelligence and artificial intelligence have been looked at, some authors have come up with 4 levels of intelligence: mechanical being the lowest level, analytical, intuitive, and empathetic. They put it in a kind of an ordinal way because as we go up in the hierarchy, it becomes more difficult to mimic what is happening in the real world, and thus it would take more time for such artificial intelligence systems to be developed. Now, literature generally claims that outstanding performance is strongly related to presence of 3 skills or types of competencies: cognitive intelligence, emotional intelligence, and social intelligence. Based on these, some authors have defined 3 different types of AI systems: analytical AI, human-inspired AI, and humanized AI. In addition to all this, human beings also have artistic creativity. So cognitive intelligence are talking about competencies related to pattern recognition and systematic thinking. Emotional intelligence is about adaptability, self-confidence, emotional self-awareness, and achievement orientation. Social intelligence is about empathy, teamwork, inspirational leadership, etc. So based on these 3 types of competencies, analytical AI has characteristics consistent with cognitive intelligence. Human-inspired AI, cognitive as well as emotional intelligence elements are there. Humanized AI shows characteristics of all these 3 types of competencies. That's how they are grouped. And for these to happen, the system has to learn. So what are the ways in which learning processes happen? There are 3 broad ways: supervised learning, where we map a given set of inputs to a given set of outputs; unsupervised learning, where the inputs are labeled but not the outputs. So the algorithm needs to infer the underlying structure from the data itself. And then there is the third one, reinforcement learning, where the system receives an output variable to be maximized and a series of decisions that can be taken to impact the output. If you look at the 2021 survey by McKinsey on artificial intelligence, we see that organizations are using AI as a tool to generate value, and increasingly that value is coming in the form of revenues. 56% of all the respondents in the survey report AI adoption in at least one function. AI adoption last year has increased most at companies headquartered in emerging economies. And one important point I found is that across the regions, the adoption rate of AI is highest at Indian companies. And which functions are these companies adopting AI into? Service operations, product or service development, and marketing and sales. And the most popular use cases are in service operations optimization, AI-based enhancement of products, and contact center automation. And the biggest percentage point increase in the use of AI is in the company's marketing budget allocation and spending effectiveness. Not just the top line, AI's impact on bottom line is also growing. 27% of the respondents said that at least 5% of their earnings before interest and tax are attributable to AI. And the companies that see the biggest bottom line impact use machine learning operations, move their AI work to the cloud, and spend on AI more efficiently and effectively than their peers. These are some of the trends. Now, I'll just share with you a typology of AI-enabled innovations and their effects on competencies. If you see the horizontal axis, on one end, you have the competency destroying, on the other end, competency enhancing. And on top, we have products as well as processes. So 4 quadrants are there. In the interest of time, I'll talk only about one. If you look at the lower right quadrant, it is about competence enhancing process innovation. A typical example is Kone elevators, who have used IoT tools in their elevators, which are AI enabled. So they keep a track of the elevators. And if there are any issues that pop up, immediate information is sent to the engineers or maintenance staff so that they can do preventive maintenance in a better way. Now, AI can also be deceived. Some examples are given on the slide. If you look at the third one, a battle tank adorned with tiny pictures of cows caused an AI-based vision system to perceive it to be a herd of cows. So misclassifications represent a serious vulnerability as machine learning is widely deployed in medical, legal, and financial systems. So the costs of errors, if there are errors in such systems, are extremely high. Researchers are working on methods to reduce such vulnerabilities. Finally, to talk about some AI and policy issues, one of the primary concerns is about data privacy. Data privacy can have an impact on, or lack of data privacy can have an impact on customer safety. And there is this privacy personalization paradox. If a customer wants too much of personalization, there is a trade-off on the privacy aspect. Everyone should be aware of that. Then there could be biases in the AI systems and algorithms. It could stem from multiple causes, for example, training data. Amazon had to abandon one system that they developed, partly because they found out a bias in the system. It was about a system which was trying to screen applications. And it found that it is biased against female applicants. When they dug deeper, they found that the reason was that the training data was predominantly male-related data. Then there are ethical aspects, data privacy choices reflecting the firm's strategy, deciding what problems AI will tackle. To give an example, 2 Stanford researchers initially, came up with a system which can quite accurately predict the sexual orientation of people by analyzing their facial features. Now, if it is up to the organization to decide whether you want your researchers to tackle such problems, will it be intruding into the privacy of individuals and so on? That is an ethical call to be taken by the organizations. And finally, there are laws and regulations to be in place. There are 2 thoughts on that. One is that the industry should regulate themselves. There is another school of thought which says that governments have to step in and develop laws to regulate this space. These are the initial comments that I wanted to make. Back to you, Ms. Shikha.
Dr. Shyam, thank you very, very much for taking us through the nuances and of course, some of those very novel concepts there as I was just trying to make some notes. Thank you very much. Well, to say that AI has grown in popularity as a marketing tool over the last few years, I think that would make a serious understatement, right? I'm sure you would agree, especially after Dr. Shyam's presentation, that it's just like a breakthrough that can enable good managers to be great. Arms you with the collaboration capabilities, information sharing, creativity, empathy also that our presenter just spoke about, the experimentation, judgment skills, decision-making effectiveness, all of that and more. Of course, we'll have Dr. Shyam back in some time over the Q&A round, but right now it's time for me to talk further about our next guest, whom you've met already. I'm talking about Dr. Kishore Gopalakrishna Pillai, who holds a PhD from Florida State University. And as you can see him on the screen, I would also like to share that he's an MBA from IIM Calcutta, and his research areas focus on consumer knowledge, social networks, and retailing as well. His papers have been published in the leading journals such as the Journal of Retailing, Research Policy, etc. Professor Kishore has held academic positions at several leading British universities. And Professor Kishore, of course, if I were to talk about you, I would like to reserve another at least 30-40 minutes to talk about your credits. But right now, just wrapping it short and handing it over to you for the further talk.
Okay, thank you, Shika, for the very generous introduction. I'll be talking more specifically of AI applications in marketing and prospects therein, as well as some perils of AI. AI is going to change the landscape of marketing dramatically. Take the case of online retailing. Today, we place orders online and the retailer ships the product to us. That is a shopping, and then shipping mode of retailing. Tomorrow, thanks to big data and the AI systems, the retailers will know you very well, that they will ship the products to you, and then you will choose the products, and you will end up choosing most of what has been shipped, because the retailers know you very well. That's a shipping, then shopping mode. And this will become very common tomorrow. Birchbox, a retailer in the US, is already practicing this. Fashion-related AI is another area where AI is going to become very popular. The AI will give you clothing recommendations. The AI will use structured data and unstructured data to come up with recommendations for your clothes. The structured data could be the data that you provide, your height and weight and waist size and all that. But it will also use unstructured data from other platforms, such as your Facebook page, your Instagram page, etc., to develop a holistic understanding of you, and then curate a set of clothing that are most suited for you. Stitch Fix is a retailer that's already doing this. Sales is another area where AI applications will happen in a big way. AI bots can automate the sales process. And some of the basic sales processes will be taken over by AI bots. And the more complex selling, in those instances, AI will augment the sales process. Conversica is an AI application that helps the sales function. Customer service robots will become more popular. Already there are customer service robots in restaurants serving customers. This is there in India as well as around the world. You will see more and more customer service robots greeting customers, making coffee, acting as coffee baristas, and making cocktails. Rocktham and Socktham and Pepper are two robots who are very well known around the world for doing this now. Predictive analytics will boom tomorrow, thanks to big data and AI systems. And customer screening will be an important aspect, a function of predictive analytics. Kinetics is an AI system that's doing this job quite well. Kinetics identifies those customers who are definitely going to buy your product and those customers who are definitely not going to buy your product. And there's a third segment who might or might not buy. So you can target your promotion, your communication, all that to this third segment. Thus, this will enhance the efficiency of your marketing spending. AI systems will be there in large retail shops. You will see AI robots roaming around the aisles of the shops, answering simple queries of customers as to where their products are located, identifying the inventory levels, taking note of the inventory levels and stocks of various products, and identifying misshelved products if a product has been misplaced. Moving to more general arenas, AI in driverless cars will become more popular tomorrow. You know that driverless cars are about to be launched. Tesla is an innovator in this area. And when the driverless cars launched, taxi driving as an industry will undergo radical transformation. Ride sharing, Ubers and all that, is another industry who will have to rethink their strategy. Yet another industry that will be affected will be the breathalyzer, the equipment that police uses to test whether you're drunk or not. AI systems are not going to get drunk, so maybe this industry will be gone. So the point is that some industries will be severely affected as AI systems proliferate. Like you saw in the previous presentation, We can think of intelligences in 4 levels: mechanical intelligence, analytical intelligence, intuitive intelligence, and empathetic intelligence. This series is particularly applicable to the service context. And in that context, we can expect most of the mechanical tasks to be replaced using AI. And many of the analytical functions will also be replaced. Functions such as accounting or business analytics, they operate under very strict rules and guidelines, and AI systems do very well under such conditions. Humans will be more focusing on intuitive domains, the doctors, the lawyers, marketing managers, business consultants, etc. They have to use intuition and human judgment in their day-to-day lives. And that's where we have a competitive advantage over AI machines. And similarly, empathetic tasks, the task of a politician or a psychiatrist who have to really form a bond and display empathy to people. In these areas, humans will reign supreme. But maybe in the coming years, AI systems will develop intuitive intelligence as well. And then humans will be focusing more on empathetic aspects, empathetic tasks. Now, mind you, I said that doctors, the function of doctors is more intuitive in nature, but there are specializations in medicine that are more amenable to being called as analytical, and where AI systems are already doing very well. For example, the role of a radiologist or a dermatologist. We know that AI systems are doing quite well in these areas. Now, having taken a look at the prospects of AI, specifically from the marketing point of view, let me just outline some of the perils of AI. AI depends upon data, machine learning and data, and historical data is used to train the AI. However, AI does not know anything other than what it learns from the data. And if you want to move beyond the mechanical tasks, you have to tell AI to maximize profits. As a marketing manager, you tell AI to come up with a strategy to maximize profits. So you have to specify the objective function. But as human beings, we know that if I'm a marketing manager, if I'm trying to maximize profits, I should not kill any people. I should not damage any property. I should not break any law. I don't need to be told all this, but the AI system will need to be told all this. So specifying the objective function is going to be quite a challenging task when AI system moves up the ladder and starts taking care of complex decisions. The second challenge would be creating a realistic learning environment. AI systems, they learn from data, machine learning uses historical data. But marketing is a very complex function. Customer behavior is dependent upon a very large number of factors and variables. And very often, customer behavior can be quite idiosyncratic. So for a system to learn, abstract from all this and learn insights which can be applied later can be quite challenging. So creating a good learning environment using the right kind of data is going to be another challenge that marketing managers have to face. And inbuilt biases. Dr. Shyam talked about some biases in AI data. I have another example of biases. AI systems were used to help judges decide upon cases in courts in the US. But later on, they found that this AI system was racially biased. They were very surprised because race was not a variable that was inputted into the system when the historical data was fed. But later on, they realized that there were proxy variables, correlated variables, which were connected to race. For example, the names of people and the location where their house is located in the city. So, ghettos are populated more by African Americans than by whites. So in this instance, and we also know that historically, the court system has been biased in the US, unfortunately. So the AI system abstracted the learnings out of this large volume of data and started replicating the biases quite well in a very efficient manner. So there could be inbuilt biases when you train the data, and marketing managers will need to think about what could be the possible biases and how to debias the data. And then yet another issue that marketing managers will have to deal with is controllability of AI. In June 2017, there was an incident, a terrorist incident in the UK, and some people went about stabbing members of the public. And there was widespread panic among people, and they started hailing taxis to go home. Now, Uber's algorithm picked up this spike in demand and immediately raised the price. The price also almost doubled. Fortunately, Uber detected this, what was happening, and overrode the AI system and lowered the price. But Uber attracted a lot of negative publicity. People accused Uber of profiting out of a very difficult situation, an emergency situation. But Uber communicated to the people and said that this is because algorithm is trained like that. So they explained the behavior and they compensated, they reimbursed the money that was charged. So controllability of AI, whether when it goes out of control, how do you control it? This is another important issue that marketing managers need to think of. I would like to end this brief discussion with by dwelling upon the paradox of automation. If you start automating the simple tasks to machines, the machines will become very proficient in the simple tasks. Consider a doctor who uses AI systems to do all the simple operations. And the doctor is expected to be called upon to perform a complex operation that the AI systems cannot handle. But because the doctor is not doing all the simple operations, the doctor starts losing touch, the proficiency gained by doing all the simple operations. And also the doctor ceases to climb the learning curve, because if you keep doing simple steps, often you will encounter some challenges, you will keep improving yourself. So we are faced with a situation where the doctor is called upon to perform the complex task, and the doctor is not very proficient, nor has he been in touch much. You could think of the marketing manager in a very similar scenario when he or she starts relying upon the AI system more and more. When a complex case arises, a complex scenario presents itself, the marketing manager might not be ready to take the complex decision because he has not been taking many other simple decisions. This is another big challenge, the paradox of automation, that marketing managers as well as other managers need to bear in mind as they start relying more and more on AI. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Shyam.
Dr. Kishore, thank you very much. Looks like we had an expert take in terms of the nuances that you explained for applications of AI in marketing. We'll have you back on the screen in some time. Right now, please allow us to march ahead. And if you talk about really, I was so intrigued with how Professor Pillai was talking, the human creativity and the feeling will not be replaced, but AI gives professionals, like I was talking about, a new eye. One can see way more than our minds can actually comprehend and think, and how to now comprehend the practical applications further of AI in the domain of marketing. Well, we have with us Mr. Aquibur Rahman, the founder and CEO of Mailmodo, which is in fact a SaaS platform that helps businesses get 3x higher conversions from emails using interactive app-like widgets inside the emails. Well, he's the one who's helped growth stage tech companies with search and social ads, SEO, inbound marketing, CRO, automation, agile processes, and hiring as well. He is an Ahmedabad and an IIT Dhanbad graduate who has previously headed marketing for ClearTax as well. Well, Akib, there are a lot many perspectives that we are willing to hear from you. I'm handing it straight over to you with that.
Thank you, Shikha, for that kind introduction. And thanks, everyone. And so I'm really glad to speak here and be part of the panel with Dr. Shyam and Dr. Kishore. So my specific focus of the discussion would be around how AI is impacting marketing right now and how marketers are using AI in their day-to-day life. I will also present my screen, and I've just prepared a few slides that I would like to show. So I would like to start with like a funny meme cartoon where so that you can relate how AI is all around us. Like we have various websites, we have Alexa, we have our smartphones, etc., which capture a lot of data from us and train various AI models to advertise back to us, right? And that is probably the biggest AI application which we experience on a daily basis, but we probably oversee it. So being said that, from a user point of view, but being said from a marketer point of view, there has been a lot of new applications that different brands have started using it. And one of the first application is image and video personalization. So traditionally what used to happen is like image creation and video creation is a very time-taking process, right? And when we advertise, we probably we used to have one image, one video for a mass audience, but not everybody is same. Like every user or every audience may have very different criteria, very different behavioral or very different experiences, right? And brands observe that if we personalize our images, our videos for each user, the conversion, the marketing impact will be much higher. But manually, that is not possible. So there comes the AI, which can help you create these personalized images and video without manual effort in one go. So here is a very good case study by Cadbury, where they used AI to create so many different ads of Shah Rukh Khan for very small businesses. So I will like to play this video, and just a 2-minute video, and I would like you to go through this.
Big businesses and brands that suffered during the pandemic found their way back, but the smaller stores still suffer.
This lockdown has been a real tough phase of my life. I mean, I have seen bad days, but this was the worst.
Last year, we helped small businesses through Diwali. So this year, we decided to bring it back. Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. This Diwali, we helped hundreds of small businesses by making India's biggest brand ambassador be their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन ऑफ एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना, और फिर एम्पायर फुटवेयर, नाम तो सुना होगा, अपना स्टाइलिश चश्मा बगल वाले हेवन आई ऑप्टिशियन से ही लेना, सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना।
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
लाया हो ना यार, अपने पास वाले रोशन किराना से। आप भी अपना मीठा वहीं से लेना।
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना, पास वाले आजकल फैशन से ही, रॉयल फैशन से ही, एनके क्लॉथ से ही, पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। इस दिवाली आप भी ना
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of not just a Cadbury ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
So like I believe like for most of you this ad at least this video would be very interesting. Like you saw that how Cadbury used just one video of Shah Rukh Khan and distributed it, and the merchants can just replace certain text, their brand names, etc. And the whole video is changed. And for every pin code, the video is personalized, video is changed. So this is like mass production of video, of very personalized video using machine learning and AI. So this was the first application that is very close to my heart.
Big businesses and brands that suffer during the...
Yeah. Second, a lot of brands that have started using AI and machine learning to generate content faster. So marketing is all about messaging, copy, and content, right? And it is very important that we provide the best content possible for the best for the right users. And generating the internet is full of content, right? Everywhere you search anything, you get millions of pages on any topic. You see so many social media posts, etc., and there's so much of content of each type, whether it is a post, blog, email, anything. This at that it is a content, and generating this content requires a lot of effort, research, and manual manpower. So with AI, what we can do, we can train certain types of content. So for example, email, we can train a lot of with a lot of email data, and we can predict what kind of responses we should write on certain with certain keywords given. So you might have noticed in Gmail, if you start writing certain text, it will automatically suggest you what your next words are going to be, and it saves your time. So that is one of the biggest application of AI that we can see in our day-to-day life. And it's not restricted to Gmail. You can also see that in Google Docs. A lot of brands have started it to create content in mass. There has been several tools to help you do that. There's like copy.ai, conversion.ai, paper type, etc., etc. So this is probably going to be the largest and like most used application of AI in marketing, and a lot of brands are already using it. Uh, my third example would be about the targeting customer segments. So as much as messaging is important, the targeting the right segment, customer segment, user segment is also important. If you don't target the right segment, you will be end up wasting money and resources targeting the wrong people who will not never buy your product. So as a marketer, you always have to find out the right segment of user, the right user who will buy the product. So but manually that is not possible. Manually there are like billions of people in the whole world. How do I know who is going to be the right customer for me? AI comes to help. AI identifies the right people who are purchasing your product so far. They identify what are the common patterns in them, and then accordingly create segments on different channels to which you can target. And Facebook is one of the best example for that. If you browse Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, you might be seeing a lot of ads in between, right? Those ads are very targeted towards you. So these brands basically identify who is going to be the right segment. If you visit their website, they know that you might be interested in their products, so they keep showing you ads. If you just purchase something, you start getting similar or subsequential product ad, right? So that is one of the example of how AI is being used there. Another example of AI is in Facebook. There's a lookalike audience. What marketers do is that they upload a list of audience, and Facebook generates who you should be targeting to potentially get more customers. So I think that this is further going to be applied even in other channels. We will be seeing this kind of application of targeted segments in more and more marketing channels. And the last one that I wanted to mention is from a B2B angle. Like when we, as a company or as a marketer, when we sell to another company, the sales cycle is generally long. And it's very important that our sales resources and the marketing resources are utilized to target the right companies. And since there are a lot of companies, how do we actually understand who is going to be the going to purchase the product right now? It may be that they might be interested now or later. They might not have enough money, they might not have enough intent, etc. So AI based lead scoring come into picture. It basically understand all the parameters of your target audience, who can purchase. They see the behavior online, and accordingly this provide a score. It can depend on the content that they read, the activities that they do in the product, and their background, their position, everything. And AI reads all of these data points and provides a very concrete end result to help you target the so AI, like, is there background noise somewhere? Yeah. So AI has already been being used all across marketing, communication, and segmentation. And this is a graph from 2019 actually. And like, so this is not new. This is already happening, and we are going to see more and more AI application in the world of marketing. So many of you might have heard about metaverse, which is basically a virtual world outside the our 2D internet space, right? And a lot of future entertainment and future digital space would be created in that virtual space. So marketing will also be being placed there as well, and AI will be very specific in those virtual spaces, because it will be very personalized for each person. So with that being said, I want to close and hand over back to Shikha.
Hi, Akib. Thank you. Thank you for sharing from an entrepreneur's mind and space that way. I think you did share strategies that focused how brands can really use the power of machine learning and AI to attract more leads and just find the right arguments to also convert them at the same time. Thank you very, very much. And on that note, before I together invite all the guests on the screen, here's just quickly urging all of you, we are getting some of those questions. Keep it all coming, because we do have the last bit of our session today that will be dedicated to the question and answer. And we have Dr. Shyam and Akib already on the screens. Thank you so much, Dr. Pillai. If you can also join us right there. Thank you very, very much to the three of you. And with that, allow me to just quickly scroll through the questions that have come to us in the feed. All right, so this one is to Dr. Kishore. And of course, a warm welcome to all the three of you together, our forces for the webinar. Dr. Kishore spoke about industries that may be affected and the ones that would grow with the inclusion of AI. Could you elaborate on the part about AI's impact on the breathalyzers that police uses?
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay. Breathalyzers are the instruments that police uses to check whether the driver is drunk. So this is a problem. People drunk driving is a problem because it can cause accidents. Tomorrow, if the AI system is driving, then you don't need to check whether there's drunk driving. Drunk driving vanishes from purview. So there is no case of drunk driving because AI systems don't drink. It's a humans that drink. So then breathalyzer cannot be used. The product becomes redundant. So the industry dies out. That's what happens. I hope that's clear.
Yes, it does, Dr. Pillai. Thank you very much. All right, the next one that has come to us is regarding cabs like Uber and Ola. Don't they profit out of a situation in areas where demand is high through surge pricing, which sometimes even goes up to 7 to 10x of the cost as well? So would you call this a peril of AI or something that we need to come in terms with?
Yeah, that depends on the context. This particular context was a very difficult situation, a stabbing incident, a mass stabbing incident. So it created a lot of panic, and and people are supposed to help other people in such situations. So while a normal spike in demand can be cashed in on, you're not expected to cash in on a real emergency when you are supposed to be helping other people tied over the very difficult situation. So basic amount of corporate citizenship would demand that Uber lowers the price, but the algorithm does not understand such nuances. So it just raises the price. So this is the peril that I was talking about.
All right, Dr. Pillai. Akib or Dr. Shyam, do you have to say anything more on this question, or we can go ahead?
Yeah, so so like Dr. Kishore mentioned that it totally depends on the context actually. So if you think from a point of view of the company Uber or from the point of view of the driver, it totally makes sense. But if you think from you as a customer, it doesn't make sense that your price has been increased. But if you this is a proper use of AI actually, because suppose in one area where there are lesser number of cabs but there are more demand, and only search in pricing can help more cabs to go in that area, and then it will balance it out. So there's always excess of everything is always bad, but the balance needs to be created.
True that. So applies to AI as well. We need to use it mindfully. Okay, one of our viewers, particularly, Akib, this is for you. Of course, we have this one coming for Dr. Shyam, but Akib, I'm going to take up this one for you first. Says that the Cadbury ad was pretty interesting and in a way very revolutionary. And Dr. Shyam is nodding in agreement, I can see. Why is it that we haven't seen more of the same? And is it due to it being an expense to create, or is there some issue with the acceptance of such kind of ads?
I think it is just about awareness so far. So while Cadbury has been very generous to help small businesses to create their own ads using their one master ad, it also helped them to publicize about it. So, but most probably, most brands or marketers are not aware of such technologies even now. So that is the reason that it is not adopted very widely.
All right, the issue is not with the expense part of it, you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, Akib, fair enough. In the presentation by Dr. Yes.
The expense can always be met through the return that the company gets. And in this case, surely Cadbury has got a lot of coverage.
True that. So that PNC could be worked out. Fair enough. In the presentation by Dr. Shyam, we saw 4 types of intelligences: mechanical, intuitive, empathetic, and analytical. Dr. Shyam, can one exist without another in the AI system?
Okay, so these 4 are actually, we could look at them as ordinal because to mimic the mechanical is easiest, then comes analytical, intuitive, and empathetic. So as we move from mechanical to empathetic, the difficulty to mimic the features by a system increases, and it takes longer to develop such successful AI applications. But when we reach a higher level, let's say, it also involves the lower levels also coexist at that time. So it is in one way ordinal, but they can also exist parallel. If you're moving from a lower to a higher level, at the higher level, both the lower levels will also be coexisting. So in that sense, they can coexist. But as we move up, then it takes more time. It is more difficult to mimic.
All right, thank you, Dr. Shyam. The next question is for Mr. Aquibur Rahman. Akib, this is for you. You mentioned in your presentation about AI in copywriting as well. However, do you feel the use of AI tools like Grammarly, as we know, are harming the writer's grammar skills instead of actually helping them?
So I know many writers, and I think that all of them use Grammarly. At the end, it is helping them in improving their productivity. They are able to write better, correct, and more actually, and that is helping them probably earning more money as well. So it again depends on the context, right? And excess of everything is bad. So if you use it mindfully, it is not going to be worse, but it is going to help you in some or other way.
All right, so that's Akib's take on this question that one of our viewers has sent. If there's any more, please keep them coming in, because we will be shortly wrapping up. But right before that, the next question, and our guests can participate in answering this one. How far does India have to go in order to adapt AI to match the likes of established countries like USA? So yes, there's always a comparison. And what do you have to say, all of you?
if I can start, other panelists can come in. As I mentioned in my presentation, in the last year's McKinsey study, we found that the greatest increase in spending or adoption rate is highest in Indian companies. And there was a study by the Brookings Institute, I think somewhere in 2021 itself, where they said that India is in the top 10. I think it was 6th or 7th in terms of spending by government as well as private entities on AI. But in terms of achievements, obviously countries like US, China, I think Japan, France, Germany, and UK are ahead of us, if I remember correctly. So, but we are in the top 10. We are not so far down, and we are also high on investments also. So that is my answer to that.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Shyam actually. So we are not far behind actually, especially in the case of technological adoption and the new technologies that how they are coming in. So if you might have heard and seen recent investment scenario in India, a lot of new companies who are working on Web3 and AI, they are getting a lot of funding. And technology adoption is primarily driven by how much investment it brings and how much business value it can bring. And especially because of large population in India, AI can do wonders where a lot of things which cannot be probably done manually, they can be solved using AI at that kind of a scale. So I don't think that India is far behind in this.
Yeah, just to add to the 2 points, yes, we are definitely not far behind, but maybe going forward, a couple of points that we need to keep in mind is developing manpower, enough manpower, given the size of our economy, and also creating the right kind of data ecosystems. I mean, in a significant segments of our economy are not digitalized to the level of sophistication that we would ideally like them to have. So these are 2 aspects that we need to keep in mind as we move forward. Okay.
Got it. So the stats and the perspectives, all on the positive side from the 3 of you on this one. Maybe we'll just take up this last one very quickly. Has introduction of AI accelerated the evolution of marketing? I'm sure the answer is yes, right?
Definitely, yes. There's no question about it.
Yes.
More targeted segmentation, targeting, all this have improved by leaps and bounds. Gone are the days of mass advertising. Today it's mass customization down to the level of the single customer. We know the customers much better, as Aquibur was also saying. Things like Google search itself uses AI, but if you move to Google attribution, that model that understands why people visit websites, it's fascinating how much they reveal. Yeah, I mean, marketing has come a long way, but it's still early days of AI, so it will further progress quite a lot. Yeah.
All right, Dr. Kishore, thank you for that. Any final words that you all would want to quickly say to all our viewers who are watching us? After that, we'll wrap up.
It's an exciting field to study, especially in marketing. So, yeah, please take an interest and come forward to study AI in marketing.
I will definitely second that. Not just in marketing, any domain of management, there are applications of AI. So youngsters, particularly looking at an MBA or who have just finished their MBA, etc., should look at AI and try to develop their skills in this. That will be very handy for them in the future.
Yeah, I agree with the professors here. So AI is going to be mixed with every other field, whether it is marketing or business or technology, design, anything, and it's going to help the human evolve further. So I think there's definitely more career opportunities coming up in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much. Some very, very positive sentiments. And of course, with you all saying it, I think it's a real motivation for all the youngsters watching the 3 successful you. Akib, of course, I've invited students to seek your help whenever they can. So I think I've done the right job, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And thank you so much to you once again, Dr. Shyam, Dr. Kishore, and Akib. Thank you so much for taking the time out and just very selflessly sharing and reinforcing the concept of AI for the use of marketing and management. Thank you for your time to the three of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely rest of the evening. And thank you for making it quite fortified, this knowledge series, as we would like to call it. And to wind up, of course, many companies, in fact, have hesitated, even till date, to use. So many companies have hesitated to use marketing, AI for marketing or management out of fear. It may replace human jobs, they thought initially, or maybe they become a barrier to connecting personal connections with the customers. But it can actually pave the way for more creative career experiences and a deeper understanding of who you're truly serving. Well, we at Asianet News and Amrita School of Business, we thank all of you enthusiastic, pepped up minds joining us. We wish with AI, you folks indulge in smarter and also faster decision making. If you can project and anticipate the trends, you can be a trailblazer very much and give the audience what they want before they can even sort of envision or realize it. Of course, as our expert said, be empathetic, be mindful. Excess of anything is bad. And at the same time, we would like to say, be updated, be actionable, and join us definitely for our next webinar that's very shortly coming up. Our team is busy curating content, and we will meet again on the 21st of February. And we're going to talk about and get actionable around the importance of creativity and innovation amongst the entrepreneurs. So wear your innovation hats and of course all those creative hats and join us on the 21st February. For now, cheers and stay very, very safe. Thank you.